everyone, my name is Timson. Welcome to Technocraft Academy. Today we're going to be treating some questions, and from there we move to more advanced concepts in functions, or from some more advanced functional concepts like say zip functions and enumerate function. Then thereafter we move to classes, which is object-oriented programming paradigm. That is the OOP concept in Python. So that said, let's quickly move to let's try to navigate to our VS Code. Of course, the conventional way, which I have always been teaching you. Let's go to the command prompt. And of course, let me cd to my desktop environment. Let me create a folder, so my big directory. Let me name my folder new lesson. You can name your folder whatsoever you deem fit, but I'm naming mine new lesson. So I've created a folder, so I'm cding into the folder. Let me say new lesson. So I'm in the folder environment. So in the folder environment, I can easily navigate to VS Code just by typing this code space dot and punch enter. So by punching enter, it navigates me to the VS Code environment. So I don't have to go to the I don't have to make a graphical I don't have to create folders graphically, and going through the strenuous part. I can easily do that through a command line interface, which I've just done. I think I've taught you all about this. I don't need to go over that again. So so before now, let me go ahead and create a folder. A file. So from this file tree, I'm going to create an executable file. So invariably, let me just create the executable file. So let's say let me still call it new class.py. That's a Python file. So this is where I will be treating whatsoever thing I need to run on Python. Then I need to still create another file, maybe a text file, so as for me to be able to explain some key concepts. So let's create a text file. Let's say new class.txt. So this will enable me explain whatsoever thing I need to explain in terms of writing. So that is that. So let me go ahead and collapse this tree here. I think I have a perfect view now. I think the screen is wide enough. I mean the tests are very visible enough. So if it is not clear, please always let me know, so in the comment section, so as for me to work on the subsequent videos. Thank you very much for that. So let me go ahead and close this. So I came across questions that says this is the question. So I'm going to treat the question. I'm going to use function, because these are the kind of questions that comes out in interviews and whatever challenge, code challenge or whatever challenge, it's been given this way. Let's say given that a particular variable, say num1 equals 15 and num2 equals 25. Now the question goes thus. It says we should use a Python code, use a Python program. Let me create a word wrap for this, so as for me to always allow my thing to go in a new line. I don't know why this word wrap is highlighted. Okay, let's just keep typing. So when it goes there, maybe given that num1 is equals to 15 and num2 equals 25, use a Python program to swap the let me see if the word wrap is not highlighted this time. Let me see. Okay, yeah, there we go. So the word wrap will now enable me, or will enable my text to come in a new line, rather than getting lost in the view, in the screen size. So given that num1 equals 25 and num1 equals 15 and num2 equals 25, use a Python program to swap the variable, the content of the variable, to swap the value and the variable such that the output such that the output will then be num1 equals 25 and num2 equals 15. So this is what they are trying to tell us. They are saying, okay, num1 initially is given 15 and num2 has a value of 25. So by the time you run your code, use a Python code program to swap the value. So when the output comes out in the console, num1 will now be having 25 and num2 will now be having 15. So they're asking us to do this. You can do this using any method. You can use the procedural method, you can use functional method, you can as well use the class-based method, but we're going to be using functional method. Of course we have not we've grown beyond the level of using procedural method, but now we are in the we have delved into functional method of taught you function, and of course we are still going to be doing some more advanced concept in functions. So before that, after then we now move towards class, but right now as we are in function, we should be having our questions solved functionally. So now we want to have a function or a Python program using a Python program to swap the content of num2 to num1 and num1 to num2. This is what they are trying to tell us. Let me explain this question so that in a way that you can just create your pseudocode. This is what they are trying to say. Now let's assume we have a I'm not advertising for any product here. Let's assume we have a container containing, let's say, a Coca-Cola bottle, and let's say we have a Coca-Cola bottle and a Fanta bottle. You understand? So you have Fanta in a Fanta bottle, and you have Coca-Cola in a you have Coca-Cola drink in a Coca-Cola bottle. You have Fanta drink in a Fanta bottle, and you have Coca-Cola drink in a Coca-Cola bottle. So the question is now saying, pour the content of the Fanta inside the Coca-Cola bottle and pour the Coca-Cola bottle inside the Fanta bottle without having them mixed together. You understand? Because if I don't explain like that, I know some of you might be like saying, okay, since it is like this, num1 will now be turned, you just do some magical thing that you think will work. It won't work that way. You understand? So this is what it is. So swap the content of those two, swap the content of those two container, and so that Fanta will be in the Fanta drink will now be in the Coca-Cola bottle, and the Coca-Cola drink will now be in the Fanta bottle. You understand? So if I were you, what I know that what you'll be thinking of right now is, okay, you get the third container. So that is exactly what should be done here. You get what? A third container, so that you can pour the Fanta in the third container. You understand? Then pour the Coca-Cola drink in the Fanta bottle, and of course since the Coca-Cola drink and then pour the Fanta bottle from the empty container and put it in what? In a Coca-Cola bottle. So then you have swapped it. So in this case you need what? A third container. So now we have num1, num2. So num1 was originally given as 15 and num2 was originally given as 25. So in this case, how do we now create the num? How do we create the num? How do we swap the content? By creating what? Another variable called num3. So let's see how this is working in practical. So we go here, let's say let's create a function. Let's call it dev swap. Let's call it a swap. Let's call it swap function. So let's say, of course, we're giving num1. Let's say we're giving num1, and of course we are giving num2. So these are the parameters. So by the time we pass values to these parameters, or try to pass argument to these parameters, it will swap the content. So what do we do first? First of all, we're given num1, you understand, which is what? 25. Num2, which is, so we need num3. So how do we do it? Of course we can say, since num1 and num2 has 15 and 25 already, they have content already, so num3 doesn't have. So what do we do? First of all, I have to pour the content of the num1 inside the empty container of num3. So let's say num3 now equals what? Num1. You understand? So since that is like that, then we can now say since it is like that, so thereafter num1 is empty because it has been poured inside num3. So as it is empty, what is left filled is num2. So we can now say num1 equals num2. Now num1 equals what? Num2. Now we now have num2 to be what? Empty. So since num2 is empty, we can now say num2 equals what? Num3. Yes. num3. So in this case we can now say return num1, num2, num1 and what num2 respectively. Since we can now what say return num1 and num2 respectively. So whatsoever value you pass to num1 and num2, the value you pass to num1 will now be given to num2, and the value you pass to num2 will now be what given to what num3. So let's see how this is working in practical. Let's call the function swap. Let's call this function swap. Of course, let's pass a positional argument to each of these. Of course, you all know what positional argument is. So 15 and what 25. You all agree with me that 15 original will now, if it were not to be a swap situation, by calling the function and adding arguments, a positional argument or positional arguments, 15 will go for num1, and of course 25 will go for num2. But in this case, we are having a swap task here. So instead of 15 to go to num1, 15 will now what be swapped to num2, and of course 25 will now be swapped to what num1. So let's see how this is working in practical. Of course, to have it, we can of course what have to print the called functions. A swap, we can say swap, we can say swap 15, of course 25. So if we run these, this should give us our desired output. Let's see. Yeah, so instead of 15 to be passed to num1, 25 is being passed to num1, and instead of 15, of course 15 was passed to num1, but it's swapped because of the algorithms we displayed here. So our code is right. So we now have what 25 and 15 were swapped, between those parameters, and that is how to solve a question like that. Any question that warrants you to swap content of the variable, that is what it means. So thank you on this very one. The next thing is for me to I have some advanced concept in functions that I omitted, but I don't know why I forgot about that. Anyways, I'm sorry. So I'm going to be taking you on, it's called zip function. It's called zip function, and of course an enumerate function. Enumerate function. You understand? So what are zip functions? Zip functions originally, okay, I say, okay, let me put it this way. Zip function is a kind of a built-in function that combines multiple iterables, element wise, so let me give a more detailed explanation and some additional use case here. So using zip function in Python, the zip function takes one or more iterables, e.g. list. For example, we have list, we have tuples. It takes them as arguments and returns an iterator that generates tuples containing elements from the input iterables paired element wise. You understand? So it stops when the shortest input iterable is exhausted. You understand? So that's about zip function. I don't know if I should write it. Let me give a definition of it, of what I just said. Let me give a definition of what I just said. Let me give a tab, zip function. So what it means is zip function, like I said, I will define that. I don't need to write that, but I'll just give some big note on it. I said zip function is zip function in Python is a built-in function that combines multiple iterable element wise. It combines two or more iterables element wise. You understand? And of course, let me say it takes like say one or more iterables, say list and tuples. For example, we have list, tuples. Of course, you all know what iterables are. It takes them as arguments. And return and return it returns an iterator. It returns an iterator that generates it returns an iterator that generates tuples containing containing tuples containing and generate tuples containing elements from the input iterables. Input iterables from the input iterables. Let me say that is paired element wise. You understand? So it stops when the shortest part, it stops when the shortest input iterable is exhausted. Shortest input iterables is exhausted. So let me create one or two use cases so that you can have a sound understanding of what this is. So let me go ahead and comment this out. Control A. Let me comment all this out so that I can have more so let's say in a situation where zip function, let me enough of all those terminologies. Let me just explain it in a very succinct way. Zip function is about pairing two iterables. You understand? It could be pairing tuples or list. You understand? Let's say in a situation where we have a sequence of numbers and list of names. Maybe you want to have a list of names to be numbered against, list of numbers or sequence of numbers to be against a particular name. Let's say we have list 1 here, list 1. Let's say we have list 1 to be, say, sequence of number, let me say 1 2 3 4. You understand? And have list 2 to be, say let me create a list here. Let me create a string. Now say Tosin, let me say we have Valeria, let me see, okay, Valeria, I need to spell his name properly. Valeria, let me see, so excuse me, Valeria, let me say we have Tosin, we have Valeria, we have Ruth, of course, my bestie. We have William, okay, I can remember Banke. Okay, so let's say we have this list 2, Tosin, Valeria, Ruth, and Banke, and we want to swap. We want to not swap this time. We want to have we want to pair. We want to have, okay, number 1 Tosin, number 2 Valeria, number 3. So we can use zip to do these things. So let's say we want to combine. So let's say I want to give a position of number 1 to Tosin, number 2 to Valeria. Like I want to list, you understand, numbering the names. You understand? Let me put it this way. Let me put it properly. Let me say names. Let's say names equals list of what? List of names. So I want to put, okay, 1 Tosin and all these things. So you can use zip function to do this. So let's say combine equals say zip open the, okay, let me say list 1, sorry, let me say list 1 comma names. You understand? So let's say list 1 comma names. You understand? So combined list is now, let's say combined underscore list equals, say of course, list of combine, list of what? Combine. You understand? So this combined list equals what? List of what? Combine. So that they can be nested in a list. So now let's print combined list. Let's print combined list and see what we have. Combined list. Let's say enter, come out of it. So let's run it and see what we have. So you will see that it combines what it combines. It gives number 1 to Tosin, number 2 to Valeria, number 3 to Ruth, and number 4 to Banker. That's how zip function work. You understand? That's how they work. You can as well use a for loop. You can use a for loop against it. I'm giving you a task now, so I want you to use a for loop to run it. I want you to use a for loop to combine the this. Let me just do it. There's another task I will give to you. So let's say let's use a for loop instead of writing it this way. So let's say let me comment this out. I don't need that. Let's say we have, I can say for item in zip. You can say for item in zip, you can say list 1, comma, names. I can say for item in list 1, comma, names, print item. It is even shorter. So it's going to loop through the whole process and run the code, and so we have the same way. 1 to saying Valerie, we can have it in a single line, of course. So the task now is, I want all these things to be in a single line, to maintain a single line, of course, and all the as they are maintaining a single line, I want them to be nested, all this tuple to be nested in a list. So that's the task for you. So please do submit that. Then another thing we're going to be looking at is okay, another task I would have loved to give you, but I think so that my intention is for you to get to know this, not just for you to not just to be tasking your mind and not giving a detailed information or to have taught you something. So I need you to know it. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of using, let me comment this out. Let me comment this comment these. I think I need names. Let me also comment these out. Okay, so I want a situation whereby this list, instead of creating another list and numbering another list, I want a situation whereby each of these, like Tosin now is taking an index 0, Valeria is taking an index 1, Ruth is taking an index 2, and Banker is taking an index 3. I want a situation whereby their index will now be will now be zipped against their name. So how do we do that? Let's see how we'll do that. Let me see. Okay. Let me think. Normally we should use an enumerate function, you understand, but let's see if okay, of course, let me do it this way. Yeah, let me say I hope you get the drift of what I'm trying to say. Initially we created list 1, which has a list of numbers, sequence of numbers, from 1 to 4. Now we zipped it against the names, the list of names. But this time we want to use the index of this, the index of Tosin against his name, like we had here. But here in this case we didn't use index, so we want to use index, the index of Tosin against Tosin, Valeria against Valeria, and there. So let me say, let me create. Let me say combined. Equals let's say zip. Okay, I think range. I thought you range. Let me say range length of list no, length of names. Yeah, I have names, you know, length of names, comma, length of names, comma, names. Yes. So here we are going to have of course we studied in the memory in the variable combine. So we are going to zip the range. What this is saying is take the range, of course range starts from 0. When you don't give it the first position, it assumes 0. Then then the last digit, the last number in the range, -1. You understand? But here we are using the length of the list of names. So the length here is 4. It will now be what? Range 0 to 3. That is what this line here is saying. You understand? Of course. And we are going to zip it against these names, of course. So let's say we have done that, and now let's now say combined list equals list of combined. List of combined. You understand? The combined list is equals what? List of combined. So let's now print combined list, and let's see if it will work. Combined underscore list. Let's see combined list. Yes. Let's see if it will work. It should work. Yes, it worked. So it now gave us what? An index of 0 to Tosin, an index of 1 to Valeria, an index of 2 to Ruth, an index of 3 to Banke, and that is that. So then another thing I would want to do is to okay, that is that. So the next one we're going to be talking about is enumerate. Normally I should have used enumerate to do this. What is an enumerate function? An enumerate function generates a pair of, it's a function that generates a pair of index element pairs, and then okay, my apologies, let me I'm sorry for that confusion. In Python, the enumerate function is used to iterate over an iteratables, you understand, or iteratables, yes, or iteratables, whichever way you would like it. Like say for example a list, tuple, or string, while keeping track of both the index and the corresponding value of each element. So it returns, what it does is it returns the pairs of index and their value for each element in the iterable. Let me comment out everything here so that I can create so let me comment out everything here so that I can create a scenario. So let's say we have a list equals, say let's say we have a list. Okay, let me even use what I used zip function for. You understand? Let me use what I use zip function for. Let me uncomment these names. You understand? Let me arrange the code. Let me uncomment these names. So of course we have the names, and this is what enumerate do. So we can say it takes the index and what zip it or merge it to the value itself. So let's say for index I'm going to use a for loop here. Let's say value for index value in enumerate. Enumerate is a very important function. Enumerate names, you understand? So let me say print let me use an f string here. Print f string. I don't even need that. Let me just print so that you don't get confused. Print index comma names. So what I did with zip function, I can as well do it with what? Enumerate, but it's rather than using zip and getting confused like I have just done here, you can just use enumerate and use a 2-line of code to do that. So it will do the same thing, I guess. I know, sure, it should, yeah. But in this case, it's No, there's an issue somewhere. Let me see. No, this is not what I'm expecting. Okay. This is what I'm expecting. Is giving me, okay, no problem. Let that not get us distracted. I think I would let me see what I did, what I'm doing wrong. I should expect 0 to tossing. I should expect 0 to tossing. I should expect 0 to tossing. Let me see. 0 to tossing 1 to, let me see. Let me see for index in enumerate names. Print index. Let me see if we don't throw an exception. Yes, sorry, I don't mean to print that. So I think that is the fix. That is the fix for it. So and that is done. So I think I've touched the key functions that I needed to touch. So as we keep progressing, as we deem fit, you understand. But in our subsequent class, I might have to call us back to some other key functions. Functions is so large that we can exhaust it in a day and stuff like that. So right now we're gonna be entering into classes. So classes, we're gonna be entering into classes. So classes, and that, I think that should be our next class. You understand? That should be our next lecture. So it's gonna be on classes. So on classes, we're gonna be what we're gonna be doing, classes and OOP, of course. Let me just quickly give some. Okay, let me just bring out what we're gonna be covering in classes. So we're gonna be covering stuff like, say, one, we are gonna be, of course, defining the classes, defining what classes are, defining what classes are. Let me see, defining classes. Of course, two, we're gonna be using class attributes. We're gonna be using class attributes. We're gonna be using class attributes. Three, we're gonna be assessing. We're gonna be assessing class variables. We're gonna be assessing class variable. Four, we're going to be creating instances and initializing instance variable through init method. So let me say creating okay, defining. Okay, we're still gonna be, okay, let's say before this three, yeah, using class attributes, and of course let me say defining functions in class, and defining functions in class. You understand? So yeah, so the fourth one, we're going to be creating instances. We're going to be creating instances and initializing. We're going to be creating instances and initializing instance variable through the init method. Variable through the init method. Pardon me for this. Through the init method. Initializing through the what? Let me say this is the init method. Init. It's a method. It's an initializer. It's just, it works like constructor in C++ in Java. You understand? So init method. So we're gonna be using classes and static method. 5. We're gonna be using classes and static method. um, 6, we're going to be understanding garbage collections. We're going to be understanding garbage collections. 7, we're going to be understanding inheritance, understanding various inheritance. We're going to be understanding various inheritance using access control specifier, using access control specifier, method overriding, operator overriding, polymorphism. We're going to be using properties and descriptors. So in our next class, please, we are going to be doing all of that. So stay on the alert, and please don't stop receiving your lectures. Thank you very much, as we have come to the concluding part of our class, and God bless. And if you find our lectures more interesting, please do us a favor to like it, share it, and of course, if you are yet to subscribe to our channels and you would like to subscribe, please do subscribe to our channels, and don't forget that. Thank you very much for your promptness, and thank you for always listening or watching our videos, our lecture, and receiving the lectures, and of course submitting your assignments. I find it as something it's something that gladdens my heart to see you wanting to learn. And thank you very much, and of course, God bless you.